Hi everyone. So we've already been introduced, so I won't do that again. And we are a member of STJV. It's the French Union of Workers. And we're going to explain the context that led to the creation of this union and how it works and what we have achieved so far.
So why unionize? You're having the dream job, this is your passion. You have the opportunity to participate in the creation of video games, who does that? And you're well treated, you can wear whatever you like, your favorite t-shirt, you can remove your shoes during the summer, and there are fruits in the open space. So this is really a chance you have. And now you're wasting it with your union thing. So please, stop complaining, go back to work, make a nice drawing for once, and if you're not happy, feel free to leave. There are plenty like you waiting outside. But if you step that door, I can guarantee you, you will never work in the video game industry ever again. I know everybody out there. One phone call and you're blacklisted.
So you think it was play, but it's not. In fact, we have transcription of one conversation that looks exactly like that. So you may start to have an idea of why workers must unite.
Speaking of worker, who are they?
So if we type on Wikipedia and video games industry, what could we find? If you type worker, we find nothing. If we type social, we just find something like, salut, social media or social network, but nothing about social struggle.
And if you start looking for strike, you will certainly find Counter-Strike.
So who are the humans behind video games? Well, STJV conducts survey, so we have statistics and figure for the profile. So 80 to 85% of the population that work on video games are male. So we have a live demonstration of that. Look around. We also live in big city, and we have a high cost of living and high rents. We are young. We're majorly about under 30, and almost nobody is over 30. We also have a high level of education, and our studies are very expensive.
With around 20,000 in average, and some schooling that cost over 50,000. And in the end, 15% of the person had to take on a debt to pay for that study, for that schooling. And in the end, 30 to 50% of the salaries are 30 to 50% lower than what you could expect in another professional branch.
In addition to that, we have quite weird work situation. So we have unpaid overtime, and it's very common because we're passionate. They also use intern a lot. Most of our intern are used as free or almost free manpower. But interns are not supposed to be used as manpower. They're supposed to learn their trade. They're supposed to just watch professionals doing their work and be inspired, not being used as full worker in the same condition and during the same hours.
So for instance, we have been cases of companies using 100% of interns. This is an exception, but in France it's limited to 10%. And we have many companies with figures going to 25, even 50% of interns. You're supposed to have one master for 3% maximum, and it's rarely respected. And sometimes you don't even know who your master is, and it's not good condition for interns.
They also use a lot of freelancer, but it's more like a disguised work, and they just use this to pull down salaries. Have you ever heard about crunch time? I think you have. So I won't describe it, but you have to know that some teams are in like constant crunch time. Like every week's their crunch. So they never have to rest. And it's really hard. And it's also becoming a culture. Some people are really proud to crunch. And it's a competition. Who will spend the most of the time in their office? And it's also not effective at all. It's even dangerous for the health, the mental health and the physical health. At the end, it really doesn't look like the dream job that we've been expected. So, why do people join this industry?
This is because of passion. And it's a bit of a joke, but this is the face of passion. In fact, passion is really a good thing. It means it gives meaning to the work, and in my opinion, everybody should work with passion. This is passion that keeps us working in this industry, despite all the things we've been describing before. But it's a double-edged sword. It can be exploited against us, and if you remember the previous figures we've shown, you have almost nobody over 40. It starts decreasing over 30 years old, because it's a clue that people are leaving. People don't live long in the video game industry. They are leaving to work elsewhere with better work conditions. So why? And the question is why? Why do we lose so many workers? Why do they lose their passion, since it's what's keeping them? And why do we have so many broken-hearted people that just that just go away? So here is a bit of the how to squeeze your passion 101. And the first thing we usually see is that everything starts in schools. You get students used to being abused. I don't know if you ever heard about School 42 in France and the swimming pool thing. It's a school that was opened by Xavier, which is the creator of the company called Free. The principle is that the school is free, but there is a very, very harsh selection, and you start with 4 weeks of what is called the swimming pool. It's a mix of an intense 4-week crush with a competition for whom will be the best, and it's really the jungle law, and that right from the start. So that gives you an idea of who are the people who succeed to that kind of thing. And it's not all. You have school jams, school game jams, hackathon, which are once again crunch and competition disguised as a game. And finally, often in the last year of the studies, you work for free for companies which have contracts with the school. So you give your work for free. In fact, not for free. You give it for exposure. So you're getting used to to give your job away and hope for something to come back instead of just selling it and be assured to have a retribution for it.
Yeah. We also have something we call fake meritocracy. It's fake because it's built on secrets, and the secret is it's our salaries. For example, in Dontnod, an intern wants to make the salary public. He conducts a survey between all the workers in Dontnod, and when the bosses were heard of that, he was close to be fired. But He's an intern. How
Except
do you want to
you
fire,
can fire
an intern?
an intern.
Yeah. So there is a lot of difference in the salary between the member of between the worker who's doing basically the same thing, and the boss don't want the people to know that. Also, men and women discrepancies, and they also promote competition in an unhealthy way.
Okay. Fine. So yeah, the competition continues once you start working. Since you've been used to that in school, it's not a problem. And finally, the last thing that breaks the passion is your work is not considered in many occasions. You have people who became artists, end up making rocks all day, all week, all month, make rocks, and the guy next to you, he makes grass texture all the time, and that's not something that's not why you came here. That's not what you were passionate about. And even sometimes there are big parts of the production that are wasted. So you put all your guts in your work. You like what you do. You do things as beautiful or as perfect as possible, and then suddenly, change of plan. Everything is dumped, and you've worked for nothing. Since you've worked with your heart, that's heartbreaking. And in conclusion to that, all these things contribute to lower the perceived value of work for students and for workers. And the competition also hinders the feeling of solidarity. So you've got a mass of workers that are not united, and on the other side, usually a management that use that to its advantage. Then
There have been some few attempts to defend our collective rights, not like strike, but like websites that collect testimonies of people who were struggling in this industry. In 1988, no, 1988, there was a website at Ubisoft that gathering testimony of employee, and at 1999 at Cryo there was something like called Crioscours. It's scream for help in English. It was the same thing. It's collecting data about testimony and people who were suffering, who were abused, who doing overtime, and it led to improvements in Ubisoft. They really wants to be transparent as possible, and it's kind of qualified as a good example here in France. Not here, sorry. Eden strike was a one-day strike. It was just symbolic, so the employee could show their disagreements about the management and Atari management, because 50 to 80 people were fired by this time. Outside France, there is an example like Rockstar and Rockstar spouses, because employees are at Rockstar, they have so strongly NDA contract that cannot even talk about the condition they're working on. They cannot say, I'm working 100 hours per week, for example, because it's a secret of the company. It's on the NDA. And so their spouse take the struggle for them, the spouse or friends.
yeah, it was relative to had to take to speak for them. And more recently, so we are making a big break of 7 years. There have been public speaking concerning Quantic Dream, which is a French studio, where people what people heard the most is about caricature or caricature of people, like people being displayed as Nazis and that kind of thing. So it made a lot of noise, but there are also reports of very bad treatment on some people, contract that are raped and that kind of thing. So it made a lot of noise. They have been they went to labor court, and more recently, something I know a bit personally since I'm working at Eugen Systems. There have been a big strike of 1 month and a half concerning disrespect of the contract in the company, and at the moment there are 13 persons going to labor court. Also, the STJV is going to court against them to represent the profession, and the result will be in March, half of March of the next year, of 2019. All right. So we're going to talk a bit more about the STJV itself. First, it was created officially in September 2017, and it took. But we started discussing the idea of making a union. In fact, the idea of how could we defend ourselves, and we ended up with the conclusion of making a union. And so there was discussions during more than a year before that in bars, drinking beers. So this is sort of a France and Belgian cooperation, thanks to the beer. And we've ended up creating it officially in September last year. Next year, we will be able to officially represent workers in the companies, because there is a 2 years delay before being able to do that. So this is our next step. Some people think that it was the strike in Eugen Systems that created the STJV, but in fact it wasn't. It was created before, since the strike at Eugen was in March this year, and the creation of the STJV was September last year. And but the strike at Eugen gave us something concrete to fight against, and it in fact it helped us a lot to get things together, to get things done, instead of just watching and not doing much. And we, as I started to say a bit earlier, we created this union in order to bring the value of solidarity to counter the value of competition that is very common. In our opinion, competition between the workers will never be to our advantage, and it's better to unite, to fight together in order to defend our rights, maybe get more rights. That's not really the mood at the moment globally, but we can still expect. And so yeah, this was really a way to defend ourselves, because the President Macron was elected like 2 years ago, right before it was in May 2016. So just before we created 17, because before we created the STJV, and it was also a fuel for us because he had something called social dialogue or something like that in his program, which consists globally of to remove the law inside the company and let the workers and the management discuss together for the better. Our idea of that was that it wouldn't be for the better of the workers, so we have to unite, speak together with one voice in order to fight the only voice of the management. What else do we have? Okay, how do we organize internally? This is a very horizontal organization. By that I mean there has to be an executive power legally, but this executive power has almost no rights. He can just watch over our status, and if someone starts doing something that are out of the status, like, I don't know, making racist promotion or something like that, since it's against our rules, the written rules that were written at the creation, we can stop him. But that's the only thing. All the work is made by commissions, which are work groups. People who are motivated to do something will at will can create a new commission. For instance, we're coming to Meet and Build. Okay, let's create a commission that will prepare people to come here and talk. And all the people interested will join. They can leave whenever they want. We can organize inside that commission the way we want. We use Discord, for instance, to talk to each other instead of meeting us. And that's free once again. The executive power of the union cannot impose a way to do things. And of course, to finish, we are all volunteers because we felt that would be a bit of a contradiction to have employees in a union defending employees, and then they would have to create the union of the workers of the union of the workers of the video game. It's too much complications for that. So we are volunteers. All right. I'll let you finish. Okay.
And concretely, what do we do? First, we support each other. If a worker in the video game industry needs help or just need to be listened, because some people who are who struggle because of their work feel lonely, and they just want to be listened and talk and feel comforted.
Yep. One important thing to know also is that we do not only defend members of the union, we defend everybody.
So if you have any problem, come to us. Yeah. We also do a legal representation. We have lawyer in our member, so they help people to find the legal answer to the problem. We also
we propose a way to shield you when you want to testimony, for instance. If I take the example of Eugen Systems, I was part of the workers who went on strike, and we had to communicate with the world to say why we did that, why did we enter in strike, and that. So who can do that? It won't be a person with his personal email, like Félix, Habert at Gmail or something. No, the STJV provides a way to reach to the world more easily than just trying to reach random journalists on your own and not being read. So that's one thing that can be important. When people want to reach the world, they can pass through us, and they can be anonymized if they want, and that gives them a loud voice for public speaking.
We also try to be the voice of the games worker, because now what represents us in the media and when there's survey about salaries and working conditions, it's the STJV. It's a syndicate of...
it's a lobby.
Yeah, it's kind of a lobby. So they control the figure that they're share with the press, and it's not really the reality of a lot of workers. So we try to be this voice and represent even the minority.
For instance, when there were a survey before, you're a journalist, you want to make an article about video games. Who are you going to talk to? There is one thing called National Union of the Video Game. Okay, let's talk to them. But in fact, what is the National Union of the Video Games? It's a union of for the branch. So it's a union that defends the video game industry. So usually not really the workers, rather the objective is to increase the profit in this branch. And for a long time, the social part was totally invisible. There have been a survey with question asked to employees of the video games, and I was surprised to find the name of my boss inside the employees. So yeah, certainly he pays himself a salary, but doesn't make him the basic worker that the journalist was trying to reach. So we are trying to propose a second voice to people who want to inform themselves, in opposition to the only voice of the SNJV.
Thank you for your attention.